like you said, it's clickbait, right? And I
Yeah.
was telling you this. I didn't click on it because I know kind of, okay, that's what they're wanting.
Yeah, I went to Sonoma State a long time ago,
Well, what I'm
and,
saying
and,
is you
and,
can get
and the
in.
rents still were higher.
Yeah.
So whenever you're in any college market where there's a college campus,
Yeah.
you always typically get anywhere between a 10 to 25% premium
Yeah.
on rents.
Yeah, and I'm sure you get a whole lot more for that difference, right?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Like it's crazy. So literally, the HOAs were more expensive than my property taxes. Cody Gatton.
What's up, Jay?
Not much, brother. What's happening?
Just living the dream.
Awesome, man. So I'm super happy to have you in here today. We were chatting. We were working out together, actually, and we were having like a conversation about the market, what's going on, owner-occupied buyers, non-owner-occupied, inventory, what's real, what's not real, and then especially in Rohnert Park specifically, where you crush it. Like, you do a lot of business there, and it's always been traditionally like a really hot market, and still is. So yeah, I'd just love to open up. Like, where do you want to start this conversation?
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thanks for taking the time. I think there's a lot of headlines out there, right? Like, there's a lot of noise around. Is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? And I think really that's why we're here to talk about. For me, I look at it from even kind of an investment standpoint, like what's actually going on in the market, what makes sense,
right,
and what should people be looking at, right? Like you hit it on the head. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of noise just going on in general in the entire nation, but let's talk about what's going on here and what's actual and what's factual too.
Yeah, and what sparked like this original conversation was an article that actually came out about a week ago, and the headline was, for me being in the industry and you being in the industry, was obviously clickbait for me.
Yeah,
I was like, and of course I click on clickbait because I want to know, okay, what's the real story? Like, what are they talking about? And the headline was something like, there's 1 million more listings available than buyers, right? Like something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
And like let's just start there, because that's what started this whole conversation.
And like you said, it's clickbait, right? And I
Yeah.
was telling you this. I didn't click on it because I know kind of, okay, that's what they're wanting. They're wanting the views. They want people to take a look at what they're saying, whether it's actual or not, but I can kind of speak to here locally too is, there's more inventory on the market, but does that mean that people are just giving their homes away too? I mean, that's kind of a staggering number that they were throwing out in there. And to your point, it's like, we kind of want to know what's being said, what the consumer's hearing too, because again, that's a lot of noise that they're hearing, whether or not it's actual and factual, or if we need to, kind of correct them and let them know.
So let's focus on Rohnert Park specifically in the context of this article. Okay. Yeah. So in Rohnert Park specifically, like, how many more listings are on the market right now compared, just to give perspective, compared to like the beginning of the year?
Yeah. Well, let's take it back even just another step further.
Right.
Let's take it since kind of COVID has happened. So if we took a snapshot of the last 5 years or so, generally during this time, we've seen as much inventory between 20 to 30 homes.
Okay.
So not a lot of inventory at all. And sometimes it's actually been even below that number. Right now, as of this morning, there's 80 homes available in the market in Rohnert Park specifically. Now, we could kind of take it a little bit step further, right, is that there's about 20, 25 homes that are new builds, new constructions that do show up on the MLS, that do show up on all the search platforms, the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, all of that. So even if you factored that out, there's about 100% more inventory in the market. So there is some movement that's happening. But, if we took it back 6 months, even kind of shorter term, I would say that number's obviously still increased from then. You're probably looking at, another 40% increase even from the beginning of this year.
Okay. So let's just say that the increase is, anywhere from 30% to 100%, just to keep it simple, right? Yeah. Why do you think the increase though? And what I mean by that, let's take the new builds out. Let's focus on new builds in a second, because you're doing a lot of cool stuff with that. Take new builds out. What people that are selling, like, why are they selling? Like, what are those I think that's actually the most important question, is not like, why is inventory surge? It's like, no, like, why are people selling, which is good?
Yeah. What is the driver?
Yeah.
Right? What's
the driver?
So it's the 3 Ds, right? Death, divorce, or disruption.
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of been a common theme for the last few years, again, since COVID, really. It's those are kind of the 3 drivers after we got into these higher interest rates.
Yeah.
Generally, people are not going to sell the house down the street to buy the bigger house, in the next neighborhood. It's just feasibly, financially doesn't make sense. So you're seeing a lot of people that feel stuck to their homes, that they're not making that move. But you are getting a lot of people that are moving because of those other 3Ds, right? And the disruption portion of that is going to be, you got to live with an elderly parent, or your kids can't afford to buy a house on their own, so they're living with you. And so you need kind of that multi-generational living, which is a very common thing right now too. So you're kind of seeing combinations of families, combining together and purchasing a house where they can all live in one property. That's a common question we get all the time, is people want multiple homes, ADUs, stuff like that. And whether or not it makes sense, you just got to kind of pen to paper and talk to a lender like you and see what's really financially feasible.
Yep. So those are two key drivers. I agree. I think there's one that we aren't talking about that we should bring up, and that is like distressed individuals.
Yeah.
So that is on the uprise, right? Of people that unfortunately, and I have a lot of empathy for, have lost a job where they were making $300,000 a year, and now they have a new job, which is great because they have a new job, but it's $150,000 instead of $300,000, and they're having to make big lifestyle adjustments.
Sure.
So I'm seeing that on the rise a lot too. The reality, though, whenever I break it down, is most of these people, when I say most, 85% plus, are selling their homes with a profit, right? These aren't quote unquote distressed sales for the most part. Like they're selling with a profit because of the equity increase that we've had, et cetera. I do see more and more listings coming on. Like we got 3 into contract this week, and my business has been like a roller coaster. It's like 1 week I have 10 contracts, the next week I have 1. And then 3 fall out the next week after that, and then we get a surge again. So it's like a roller coaster right now for me, right? And so there is way more activity. Although the 3 that we got this week, 2 of them were because someone passed away. Right? And so those, the 3Ds that you said, it couldn't be more true right now. You have people that have lived in some of these homes for 30 years and unfortunately, have passed away or going into nursing homes, et cetera. And it seems like a really good time to sell because prices, even if soft, they still have a profit, right? They still have a profit. So if we see, demand has stalled out, what do you feel, in my opinion, that is? So I would love your opinion. How do you feel about the buyer demand right now?
Sure.
Because I feel like it's schizophrenic. Like I just said, I have weeks where people are just like writing offers like crazy, going into contract. And then we have most people that are really tentative on pulling the trigger on something. So what do you see?
Well, I agree. And I think, again, if we just kind of took a quick snapshot over this last year, let's call it last 6 months even, activity levels were much higher. We did have a lot more buyers in the market. A lot of people were seeing where they could afford to buy and what they could afford to buy at the beginning of the year, and things were still moving. Inventory was obviously still less at that point too, so it was a little bit more competitive. Whereas now, I feel like there is a little bit less buyers in the market. I know we've talked about this too. It's just it goes ebbs and flows. And right now I felt like the last even 30 days is we've seen a big uptick. But again, there's also an uptick in listings as well. And so inventory is obviously increased. So generally, you expect homes to come on the market, get in contract, possible multiple offers within a week or so. And, some of these homes are sitting. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of is, again, specifically Rohnert Park, is a lot of, 2 to 3 bedroom homes, condos, townhouses that would be perfect for first-time home buyers, but nobody's buying them. And part of the reason is when you really kind of put pen to paper and you're talking about financing, what those numbers look like. Generally, your first-time home buyer is not going to have a ton of cash to close, so they're going to leverage a large portion of their payment. And comparatively, what your mortgage is going to look like to what your rent costs currently are. Even though rent's high, it's still less than what a mortgage is going to be if you're leveraging a large loan amount.
Totally.
And if, again, those homes are not moving, you're seeing HOA's dues increase year over year. And so you're getting a lot of investor clients, a lot of people that own these homes. They're just not penciling out for them.
Yeah. I mean, I just went through that. Like had an investment property that I've had for about 6 years or so that my mother-in-law lived in. And the HOAs, when we first started, like when I owned that place, it was like, I don't remember now, it was probably $300 a month or something like that. And, and then sold it, and literally the HOAs are like $675.
Yeah. And I'm sure you get a whole lot more for that difference, right?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Like it's crazy. So literally the HOAs were more expensive than my property taxes.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal.
Well, for me, so I started investing. So really what kind of got me into real estate was I saw my parents do a lot of investing, right? And I always saw how they could buy something, fix it up, make a profit on that, right? And so I started doing my own investing back in 2015 and purchasing homes specifically in Rohnert Park. And, very fortunate that looking back on it, it was a great time to buy. At the time, it was a little nerve-wracking and there was a lot of hesitation. A lot of people were saying, oh, the market's going to crash. Looking back on it now, it was a great decision.
Yeah.
But I still own a townhouse that, to your point, I think when we bought it, it was about $250 a month for the HOA dues, and they've continually gone up. Now it's north of $500 a month. Plus, they just did an assessment because they have to redo all the roofs.
Right.
So that's another $500 a month that's going to be on the, that we're going to have to pay over the next couple of years. And so you're talking about, $1,000 a month for these homeowners that a lot of people are struggling right now because of inflation or because of everything else. And it's putting people in a bind for sure.
What do you think about, that's a great point. What do you think about the opportunity in different segments of the market in Rohnert Park?
Yeah.
So you have condos, right, is a segment of the market. Segment of the market could be move-up buyers. Single-family homes are obviously a segment of the market compared to condos. How do you feel about these different segments, new builds, stuff like that? Where is the opportunities?
Yeah, so I'll just say this. Over the last month, I've had multiple listings come on, all different price points. So you're talking about condos, townhouses in the 400 range. You're talking about, kind of what you would consider a first-time home buyer, 725 range. And then you're also talking about, for Rohnert Park, kind of the premium end of homes, million plus, right? Yeah. And so I've had all of these homes on the market, and it's interesting to see. It's kind of across the board that things have kind of slowed down. You feel like that activity level from buyers. There's a lot of interest.
Right.
It's just when that buyer goes to their lender, are they able to stomach that payment? And does it make sense for them? So there is interest, but the amount of people that are actually writing those offers. Actually, I've got a perfect situation. We have a buyer that was in contract on one of the listings, ordered up her inspections. We accepted their offer, 3 or 4 days ago. She got her earnest deposit money in, ordered up her first inspections, and before she even got that report back, and there was nothing on the report that made her worried. It was just she's a first-time home buyer.
And was scared.
Got cold feet and decided that she wanted to walk. Unfortunate for us, we did have a backup buyer. So again, that house, though, was on the market for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden, at the same exact time, we got 2 offers. And so it's interesting to see how that happens. But to your point, I think there's opportunity in all of those segments.
All segments.
And the reason being is you can negotiate a lot of things that you couldn't negotiate before. You could do your due diligence. You could do all of your inspections. You can ask for seller credits where if you were competing with other offers, you weren't getting any of that stuff. The new builds, I know we were just talking about that.
Yeah, dude. Hey, break down the new builds. Let's focus on that. Before we go to new builds, though, I want to point out what you just said and make sure I highlight it and so that no one misses it, is that right now there is the greatest amount of negotiations going on before contract acceptance and during contract acceptance. And everyone needs to know that because we were in a market the last, call it 2020 to 2020, middle of 2022, end of 2022. Okay? Yeah. We were in a market where your multiple offers 90% of the time, you're waiving inspection contingencies. You're just dealing with what's provided. You're making an offer at listing or over, like no matter what. Now we're seeing people negotiate, and over 50% of all my transactions going on have some type of either price reduction, like they're getting it under the listing price, or a heavy credit of some sorts, like towards closing cost or interest rate buy down. So anyone who's listening to this, just know that this is the market where you have a big opportunity to negotiate. Like it's not just, and of course there are those homes that are just perfect and 9 people want to buy them, but those are few and far between right now.
For sure. And again, it's it's individualistic on each individual home and how much activity there is on it, how it's priced within the market. Is there perceived value that a buyer is going to come in with multiple buyers at the same time and going to want to buy that same house, right? Yep. Two perfect scenarios. I have buyers in contract on a place right now where we did our inspections. The roof came back. They called it shot, which I don't know very many inspectors that are going to say, oh yeah, the roof's great, right? Like it's always the roof is shot. So it's always got, 20 years old, but it needs to be replaced next year, right? So that came up and it was like, okay, well, rather than trying to nitpick and negotiate every little thing on a house that was built in the 70s, right? Like we know that we're not buying a brand new house.
Correct.
We know there's going to be
important
deferred maintenance, right?
Yeah.
And I think you need to understand that. And so we went in there and the cost of a new roof was going to be $15,000. So a reasonable request, which we made, was $7,500 for a seller credit, asking them to split the cost of a new roof with us. And the sellers obliged and they were super happy about that. And that was even in a multiple offer situation. There was 3 offers on this house. We got the offer accepted initially. We didn't make a crazy ask to where they were like, you know what, we're going to go talk to another buyer that really wants this house, is not going to ask for all these things. And it didn't feel like a big ask. And our clients are super happy. They're going to get $7,500 back at closing. That's going to go towards some of those repairs. Yeah. Whereas I have a house right now that didn't even come on the market. So again, to talk about the temperature, right? It's a large house. It has a pool. We were going to put it on. We got an off-market offer that came in $37,000 over our list price. And it's kind of like one of those opportunities where it's like, it's too good to say no to. Now they came back and they wanted to negotiate some stuff. We haven't finished negotiating, but overall they were asking for about a $50,000 credit. And that's not going to fly, right? They got to be realistic, and we're probably going to meet them somewhere in the middle because there is some deferred maintenance that, and again, a roof that needs to be repaired. Yeah. But you just never know, right? Like you just never know with what is going to drive each individual house. But to your point, there is a lot of negotiation room, and I mean, it may not be $50,000, but you're still going to get something back, right?
I mean, I'm seeing I just got a $12,000 credit yesterday, right before docs. By the way, if you were an escrow and you were a real estate agent looking at this, you guys have to let us know. Like when we're drawing docs, they're like, oh yeah, did they tell you about the $12,000 credit? Like we just need to know so we can put it.
I'll say something too. I have one going with a lender that's out of the area, that's a family friend of the buyer. Yeah. He drew up the closing docs and didn't even reach out to us. And it's like, wait, don't sign those closing docs. Talk to a lender like Jeremy that's going to communicate throughout the whole process. It's very important that you have your agent, your lender all on the same page. Yeah,
for sure. So lots of negotiating going on. Yeah. I'm seeing it. You're seeing it on the listing side. I'm seeing it on the buying side. You're seeing it on both. Let's talk about new builds, because you are crushing it right now in the new build area in Rohnert Park specifically. Yeah. And give us some examples. Like, what are these homes? Sure. What's a typical price range buyer? What should people look out for? And what is the real opportunity there right now?
Yeah. So if we're talking like specifically the new home builds, we're talking about Sonoma Village there in Rohnert Park, right by Old Kaz and Sally Tomatoes, all that. Their development is going to be 1,800 homes, right? And so they're still in their early phases of building these homes. And so they're turning these things, they're building them, they're throwing it up really quickly. The plus side, you're buying a brand new house. It's beautiful when you're on the inside. The size of the homes are going to range anywhere, I want to say, roughly from 1,900 to a little over 3,000 square feet. So they're good size homes. Yeah. Now the trade-off is you've got 0 lot lines, meaning that your neighbor's side of their house is going to be basically your fence line, right? So your yard space is going to be relatively small. Some people don't care about it.
I was going to say, some people literally don't want it anyway, and it's way better than buying a condo. Yeah. And it's a single family home. Yeah. Yeah. But
you're looking at price points, again, even if you just took a look at what's on the MLS, you're looking at price points just under 700 that go all the way up a little over 900-ish is what they're advertising these homes. Now, that's not what these homes are selling for.
Okay,
right?
So this is why I asked. So advertised price, 700 to 900. Yeah. What are you seeing as far as deals are concerned, negotiations, and those type of situations?
Sure. Well, what I would say is talk to somebody like myself or an agent that's familiar with the salespeople, the builders, and kind of, because you're not going to know what you're able to get or what you can even possibly negotiate, right? So like I'm doing, one is we're negotiating the price down. Okay. So I'll give an example. The list price was $777. Yeah. We negotiated that price down to $720.
Okay, so hold on. Time out. Boop, boop. Yeah. Okay, $777. Yeah. That's 15%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 15% off of market price.
Yeah, and that's just one aspect of an advantage for a buyer, right? Like you're getting it at a price that's significantly less than where they're listed, right? Like if you just went in there off the streets, you didn't know this, you'd look at that sticker price and you'd think that's the only price that they're going to sell us at. And it's not the truth. It's just like right now, if a house is sitting, put the offer out there. You don't know what a seller's going to consider. And to your point, like there's a lot of people that have to sell for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And they have equity. So if they're still able to walk away and it's a win for them, you may be the only offer that's offering that to them. So
now here's a risk, I will say, to maybe someone listening to this and whatnot, that I think is important is that we say, hey, there's a lot of opportunity. There's some opportunities where you could get 10 or 15% under, right? Like market value. So there's a big difference between market value and list price.
Sure.
Like some things are just listed stupid high, and that's not market value. So yes, you can negotiate on those. But I'm talking about ones that really are comp out at market value with recent sales, and we're still seeing people be able to get deals at 10% under, et cetera, something like that.
And again, as a listing agent, like we feel like we have the price correct, right? Like you feel like, okay, we've priced it appropriately within the market with what's on the market, with what's sold and all the comparables. And then when you get to that point of 14 days on the market and you're still not in contract, you're like, what's going on here? Because I feel like personally that I have priced this appropriately. But yes, to your point, I think homes do sell. Like you could still list it and still get multiple offers. It could still go well over list price. It's still happening. For a lot of sellers, it's still happening. But a lot of sellers that are going on the market may not be getting their full ask, and they're also then chasing the market down. So you want to price it very appropriately when you first go onto the market. Otherwise, you're going to get stale, and the perception is something's wrong with the home.
Right.
And in all actuality, there's nothing wrong. You just priced it wrong in the front end.
Right.
So be quick to making those adjustments is what I would say too, because we don't know. It's still an ongoing kind of volatile market right now for sellers. So you may get that offer that comes in, great, and you may not. So how do you adjust?
So with the Soma Village specifically in new builds, like the reason why there can be so much opportunity sometimes in new builds, for all of you that are listening to this, or the one person that this applies to, so is that they have to move that inventory to get to the next phase.
Yeah.
Right? So no one talks about that a lot, but when you're in a softer market, and I don't consider us in like a drastically falling market, nothing like that. We're in a soft market. And a soft market today in 2025 is basically a normal market pre-pandemic, okay? So if we go back to pre-pandemic, our inventory levels aren't really any different.
Yeah.
So let's think about that just for 1 second. The COVID, the pandemic, all that stuff, I don't even like saying the word anymore, because it was so long ago. We didn't recover inventory-wise until right now. Yeah. So what we're experiencing is a normal market with lots of negotiations on both sides being able to be had, and lots of opportunities both for sellers and buyers. Now, in the new build realm, though, we have to remember, if you're looking to buy a brand new house and you like the lot, it fits your needs, and you can get the payment you want. If you're getting a discount on that in the first phase, those have typically only gone up as more phases are completed, historically speaking. So I think that is a really good place for first-time home buyers that can afford the monthly payment. Not to mention that there can be some really cool incentives from an interest rate buy-down standpoint from the builders, et cetera, whether it's through me or whether it's through like a preferred deal that they have going on with like some type of in-house lender relationship. The reality is you can get more than just underneath the purchase price. You can also get like a below market interest rate. So, and the risk that I see of people waiting, and the risk I see that I warned about earlier, is that if we think that if we say price, you have like 10 to 15% negotiation on this particular house to someone, what do they always say? They're like, I think we should offer 30%. Okay?
Of course.
Listen, I wish it worked like that. I would make my life. Like that would be awesome. Don't get greedy. Right? Don't get greedy. And remember that market value is whatever the market says. A willing and able buyer and a willing and able seller. Like there is no other definition of what market value is of your house. It doesn't matter if there's a comp for it, not a comp for it. That is what it is. So
Well, and to your point, yes, if somebody wanted 30% off, you may be able to achieve that through other ways of negotiating, right? Like to your point, like these particular buyers there in Sonoma Village were able to get seller credits from the builder to help pay for all their closing costs. We were also able to negotiate the solar to be included, which is over a $15,000 value. We were also able to get appliances negotiated to be included in the sales of the house as well. So when you factor all of that in, if you get a $15,000, $20,000 closing credit plus $15,000 in solar plus $6,000 package of washer, dryer, fridge, on top of a reduction in price of 50 grand, you know,
you're well under 10% under list price.
Well,
under. I mean, 20. You go from 15 to 20.
And that's really where a lot of that opportunity is. And you're not going to know that you can negotiate those things if you just walk in off the street and you go into the sales office. They're not going to give that to you all up front, right?
Yep.
And to your point, I think they have to sell this inventory. They have to move it to get to that next phase. And again, being in this early infant stage of building, there's a lot of construction going on, right? So once these streets are all finished up, once the houses are all finished up and you have a more established neighborhood, it's going to look more desirable. You're not going to have the construction crews out there 5 days a week working. So I think there's a lot of potential equity to be made just on the purchase of this home. And then again, if these interest rates start to come down, which I think we all expect, if they start to come down, you're going to see a super increase of buyers back into the market. It's going to drive this market way back up. So that's where I really feel like right now we are in that time where, you know, if you're thinking about buying and you're able to stomach the payments and you can make it work, now there's a great opportunity.
I totally agree with you. And people that are looking to buy right now, I'm going to talk about first-time home buyers rather than move down or move up or relocation for a second. If you're a first-time home buyer and you are looking to buy a house with the same amount of money that your rent is, I mean, that is never going to happen, or very rarely does unless you have a really large down payment. And it's always been like that, by the way. I know that there's a fantasy that like if we can buy for what we can rent for, that happens like once every 10 years for like 14 months.
Sure.
Like it's just the way it is in the markets. A really simple equation to use if you're a first-time home buyer is whatever you're renting, you're probably going to pay 50% more to monthly to buy a house. And that is the simplest. So if you're paying $3,000 a month in rent, to buy a home, you're probably going to be paying $4,500 a month. And so the real simple equation for that is like, are you saving $1,500 a month right now? Like if you are going to buy a house where the payment's $4,500 a month and you save zero every single month, I would look at your budget. Where are you spending money? Can you clean? Sometimes it's easy to clean up $1,500, really easy, between Starbucks and, you know, whatever, 4 gym memberships that you may or may not use. Like all of a sudden you have $1,000 and you're like, oh crap. Like, so I always recommend if you're a first time home buyer, don't expect your payments to be the same. Expect them to be about 50% more than what you're paying right now. Now, of course, there's benefits. That's easy to talk about, the benefits. You're paying off a loan, so principal is going down.
Sure.
You have tax benefits. So is it really 50%? No, but it's what you pay every month.
Yeah.
So it's so important that if you're buying a house, first-time home buyer, just anticipate that your payments are going to be about 50% more. To own a home comes with all these financial benefits. The real benefits are that it's your home.
Yeah.
And that you can raise a family there, you can paint a wall whenever you want, you can not ask your landlord about anything, and you create community around you in raising a family and being stable.
Well, and you're not subject to those rent increases that come every single year as well, right?
Totally.
You know, again, if you were to buy a townhouse condo like we talked about, there may be some of those HOA type things that do happen over time. But again, if we're just talking in general, you're not going to be subject to the market rents and just kind of, you know, are we going to be able to stay here another year, or do we have to go find another place? Where if you own, again, so my personal strategy that I've used as far as investing has always been buy to own. You know, you live in the house, you kind of stay there a year or 2 years, then you go buy the next house, you convert that primary into your rental. And so I did that multiple times and built up, you know, a few houses in the area and have my own portfolio now just by doing that strategy. And it was very simple to do, right? Like I kind of moved to a larger house or to a better neighborhood and kind of put tenants in that at that point, you could kind of, as the rental market has increased, I was able to kind of cash flow a little bit. But even if I was breaking even or slightly losing, you do kind of come ahead when you really think about it, right? Over those long-term gains, the tenant's paying down your principal interest.
Yes.
Right now, it's a different strategy that you have to really look at it as far as investors go. And so how do you analyze those properties? Or maybe that's a good question for you, because I have my own opinions, but how would you analyze that?
So here's what's cool about what you just shared, right? Is that I love that strategy, by the way, like buy a house, live in it for whether it's 1 year, 5 years, whatever, live in it. Buy a house, live in it.
House hacking.
Yeah. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter, but live in it. And then assess at that point, what can I rent the house out for? Has it gone up in value and how much, right? Then you can better assess what you're willing to stomach as far as cash flow goes if you were to rent it.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you can rent it for the same exact amount that you were, paying in a mortgage payment from principal, interest, taxes, insurance, because you've lived in it, I'm okay with that equation, giving that advice, because you've already seen appreciation in the house. So you already have return there. And you have someone paying off a loan that might be 5 or 10 years in already. So you're accelerating the payoff of a future asset. But, okay, the big one, the big
butt?
Well, no, not the big butt. Before I get to the big butt, bubble butt. Before I get to that, you need to understand that you still have an opportunity to sell that house, even if you're renting it out at a loss, over the next 2 to 3 years without any capital gains tax. And this is the thing that people miss, is they go, oh my God, it's not going to cash flow. It's not, I'm going to lose $800 a month. And I'm like, well, let's look at it. Yeah. So this is a real scenario. Someone bought, at $500K. This was 10 years ago. It's currently assessed at $725K. All right. So they went up, they lived in it this whole time, right? Now they want to buy a new house, but they want to see the numbers on what if we kept it and rented, right? The current one. Well, the payments on this right now are $3,800. Okay. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. They can only rent it for $3,400 a month. Okay. So I'm telling them, hey, let's just say $3,000, because you'll have maintenance that will come up here and there, right? So you're $800 a month negative, right, in that. And they were like, oh my God, we should just sell it. I go, maybe. Think about this though. You could rent it, right, for the next 2 years if you wanted to. Yes, maybe you're losing, $10,000 a month or a year, excuse me. Although your tax benefit that I showed them through renting depreciation, and you can write that off of your taxes, was equal to half of that. So it's about $4,000 a year. So now all of a sudden you're at like, okay, I'm really losing cash flow wise about $350 a month. Okay, somewhere around that. Okay, cool. So if you lose $350 a month, you write it all off your taxes, but then you go to sell your house in 2 years, even if it's worth 5% more, even if it was the same, you have $250,000 like tax free, $500 if you're married, that you could sell it for, even though you've rented it out for the last 2 years. Because as long as you've lived in a house 2 out of the last 5 years, you can sell that at any point in time and avoid capital gains tax. So you have to really look at it. Now, here's the big but. Okay, so if I was talking to just an investor or someone who wanted to buy like a way nicer house, much bigger home, maybe want to see if they could keep the current one, and you do the numbers, here's the equation I use this is for investors or to keep a house where you can never lose money, actually. So you don't have to go through all these dumb equations that I just went through. It's really simple. It's like, what's your payment? Okay, so let's say the payment is $5,000 a month. Okay. So if the payment's $5,000 a month, I go, cool. What are the rents? Okay, the rents are going to be, in this example, I'll just say $5,000. Keep it simple, right? $5,000 a month. All right. What I do is I take the rents times 0.75. Okay. So now we're at $4,000. So what I tell everyone is that as long as your payment is $4,000 a month or less, you will literally never lose money cash flow wise or appreciation wise or principal pay down. The reason why I give a 25% vacancy factor is that it protects you from maintenance, one-time things that come up. You have to spend $8,000 or whatever it may be. And this is how I evaluate investment properties. So people go, well, how do you make it work? Well, it's just a function of rents and payments and then down payment. That's it. It's literally that simple. So if it didn't work here with 20% down, I would say, well, it works to 25% down. Do you have 25% to put down? Then it works. So that's what I see with investors. And I see a lot of investors pulling back on purchasing, and specifically in Rohnert Park and Sonoma County in general, because it's really hard to make the cash flows work.
Cash flows is not really possible for most people right now, right? And I think that's a bigger question is, well, what is an investor going to do right now? What should an investor be considering? And I think there's some extenuating things outside of just kind of the noise of there's more sellers than there is buyers in the market. I think there's a lot of other things to consider. And so for me, when I started buying, my investment property, Sonoma State, their enrollment was at a peak. So in 2015, they had 9,400 students enrolled specifically in Sonoma State. Now, if you're familiar with the area, Sonoma State, they do have a lot of students that look for off-campus housing.
Yep.
So it's a very strong rental pool in the market. So if you owned a house, if you didn't know somebody that was looking for a house, you could find a student that would pay, and they would pay a premium. These kids are paying over $2,200 a piece to share a room that has communal stuff with the kitchens and all that with other people. And
yeah, I went to Sonoma State a long time ago,
well, what I'm saying is
and the rents still were higher.
Yeah.
So whenever you're in any college market where there's a college campus, you always typically get anywhere between a 10 to 25% premium on rents.
Yeah, but they're getting a whole lot more. So if they can move off campus and still spend a premium in rent, it's less than what they would be spending in these dorms.
Yep.
So that's how it kind of always made sense. Now, when you're looking at where they're currently at, now they just cut the sports program.
Yeah.
Nobody's really talking about how's that going to affect the rest of the economy in the area, right? Like you're talking about these restaurant owners, you're talking about these small businesses that depend on, these bars that kids are going and spending money and doing all this. And now all of a sudden you're reducing your student population. Now they're down, I believe it's 5,200 students is where they're currently at right now. So if you're talking about a 10-year turnaround, you're down 40% in your enrollment.
Right.
And if that's the case, then what's going to happen with all those homes in the area that are, traditionally student housing rentals? You may be you may be not finding those tenants. You may be seeing rent prices come down in the area. So even if you were cash flowing well before, maybe you're not. Maybe those vacancy rates go up a little bit. Yeah. So I think from an investor perspective, does now make sense to kind of start liquidating some of that inventory or doing a 1031 exchange like you were mentioning, putting that into an area that may not be having some of these troubles. I don't know. I think that's a question. For me, I'm not liquidating any of my stuff. And the reason being is I bought these things for the long term. I have young kids. I can't imagine what rent and mortgages and everything is going to look like 15 years from now, right? And so I'm hedging that and saying if I'm able to sustain these homes and my kids can stay close to home and live nearby, like that's what I'm willing to do for my kids right now.
I love that. Like, so from an investor standpoint, investor purchases have pulled back quite a bit. Yeah. With financing, that is, I'll say.
Sure.
Like if you're purchasing an investment property for cash, it's a totally different scenario.
Which you're still seeing out there, not as often, but there is still cash buyers out there.
Yeah, yeah. And you brought up 1031 exchange. Yeah. So 1031 exchange is great. So 1031 exchange, simply put, is if you have an investment property that you have owned for over 1 year and 1 day, like you can sell it and then exchange it, meaning purchase another property, and you defer all that capital gains tax. So if you have a property that went up $300,000 in value, typically you're going to pay probably around 35 grand in taxes plus another 14. You're going to pay, about $50,000 all said and done in taxes from a capital gains tax standpoint to the Fed and to the state. Well, with a 1031 exchange, you can sell your property and then you can just roll all those profits into a new property in a different area where rents are maybe higher, or a property type that you would want to use. Yeah. Like whether it's if you're self-employed and you want to buy a small office building, you can do that. If you wanted to buy a strip mall, you could do that. If you wanted to buy a Taco Bell, you could do that. If you wanted to buy another condo or 2 condos, you could do that. So that is something that we are doing quite a bit of right now, is 1031 exchanges. Yeah. People that are like, okay, I've owned this house for 15 years. It's gone up, 50 to 150% in value, and we're going to sell it, but we don't want to pay the capital gains tax. What do we do? Yeah. Well, you can buy a house anywhere else you want. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's in Rohnert Park, Humboldt, Modesto, LA, Alabama, Florida. It doesn't matter like where you buy it. You can go anywhere you want and exchange that, defer those capital gains, not have to pay those taxes, and maybe set yourself up for a better cash flow situation. Yeah, or even just take it like full circle, right? I'm not saying this is the perfect scenario. I'm just kind of thinking out loud right now. But, a lot of these people that have owned these homes for a long time, those homes are, a lot of deferred maintenance. The roofs are starting to go, you got the siding issues. Maybe there's some dry rot.
And if these people aren't living locally, they're hiring somebody to kind of take care of the property, whether it's a property management company or you're just hiring a local handyman or whatever it is. Maybe you take those gains, you put it into something like a new build where these builders are negotiating everything. You take the gains that you have and you buy two new builds, right? And then you got the builder warranties for the first 10 years anyways.
Ooh, that's a great point.
You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, but there is opportunities. You just have to be able to look and to see what those opportunities are. But again, from a hands-off investor, kind of say, hey, you know what? I don't want the headache of the maintenance and everything else. Let me go buy something that's new, solar's on it. I don't have to worry about electrical bills, all those sorts of things, right? Like there may be some opportunity in that as well.
Totally. And if you're worried about paying taxes on something that you're selling, just reach out to us and let's have a conversation. Because I can do it in 20 seconds and tell you this is what you're looking at. Don't be afraid of paying taxes, I will say. List a house and sell it. Don't keep something that you don't want because you're afraid of paying taxes. That means you made money. I remind myself of that all the time. So I told you I sold a house, an investment property, and I ended up not 1031 exchanging it because I did the math and was like, man, I'm going to have to buy this other place that I really didn't want to buy. And yes, family was involved, so that had a lot to do with it in a certain area and all the things. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to cash flow this thing at all. Why don't I just pay the 28 grand in capital gains tax rather than buy a place that I'm going to have to put $50,000 into? All of a sudden, that's more expensive than what my capital gains taxes were going to be. So don't be afraid of capital gains tax. Just talk to someone and be able to analyze it and know what makes sense.
I have a seller I've been talking to for the last few months, specifically in L section. He bought the house brand new. So the home was built mid 70s.
Hell yeah. I lived on Lancaster, baby. Let's go. 2 years.
So he bought the house for $22,000, right? So obviously, that's not happening now, but to put it in perspective, that was a lot of money back then when he bought it. And so good for him. He's made a lot of money in the appreciation of it. His son's living in there currently, but he's at retirement age. He's 80 years old. He's like, you know what? I want to have money that I can live on. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do and not have to stress about it, right? So, he's going to sell this thing for probably around $650 to $700. He's fine with paying the taxes on it because he's still going to walk away and he's going to have money for the rest of his life, right? So one decision that he made back then that he didn't know, the long-term kind of appreciation and how good of a financial decision it was at the time, ultimately turned out to be probably the best decision he ever made, right?
Yes.
And that's the cool thing about real estate is it's tangible. There's a lot of things a lot of things you can do with it. You can force appreciation, you can appreciation over time, paint it and make it look more modern or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of things that you can do to force the value up. But just buying and holding real estate, you're going to make money on it.
Totally.
So don't buy into, oh my God, do I got to sell it now or do I buy, if you're buying for the right reasons, if you're buying for long term, you're always going to come out.
I agree with that statement. It's something that we miss too much in our industry. People say all the time, hey, it's always a great time to buy. It's well, let's explain why it's always a great time to buy. It needs to be a great time to buy for you personally in your own finances for it to be a great time to buy. Although, yes, technically from a timing standpoint, if you hold a house for 10 years or longer, I charted this back all the way to, I think it was 1941 when they started doing the appreciation charts. If you bought a house in any year from 41 through 2014 was when they finished this analysis, right? And you held on to it. So if you bought one in 41 and you waited till 51 to sell it, if you bought in 42, you waited till 52 to sell it, all the way through months. So if you bought in 2014 and you waited till 2024 to sell it, there was only one 10-year period that appreciation was negative. Okay, only one. Well, guess when it was? 2009. Okay, so from 2009, I don't remember if it was 8 or 9, to 2018 or 2019, it was the only 10-year period where if you bought a house that you technically, quote unquote, it was worth less. Even with that though, guess how much less it was worth?
Not much.
3%, 2.8% less. And if you just waited one more year after that,
I was going to say, just wait it out.
It was actually higher. So think about that though. Real estate is truly a long-term play. It's never going to be a short-term play. unless you're a flipper or a developer and that's your whole business, real estate is a long-term play. So over almost 100 years now, in any 10-year increment that you buy a house, it's only gone down in value once over a 10-year time frame, and it was only 3%.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I would think we can agree that 10 years from now, we'll be like, damn, I wish we would have bought more.
Always, man. Right. Like, looking in the rear view, I mean, I wish I didn't sell any of the 7 homes that I bought in my lifetime. Like, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, dude, I bought that for $389,000, just sold for $650. Oh my God. I bought a house in that time period, okay, that was bad, the 2008, 2009, and I paid $989,000 for it, right? Of course, I was an idiot, 100% finance, all the things, okay? So did it wrong, but the point is that crash happened right after that, and that house sold literally last year for $1.7 million, dude. I'm like, I am an idiot, and I'm in this industry. It's like, why couldn't I have figured that out? Like, but in the moment,
it's very emotional. Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna sell for 700. I bought it for $1 million almost. Like, oh my God, it's not worth anything. It's like I need to get rid of this asset. It's a long-term play, so don't make the mistake of being short-sighted or based on a long-term investment.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, again, if we just kind of took it, because one thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned too, if we just took Rohnert Park specifically, right, and we're talking about inventory or rentals and should I sell or should I, when you're factoring in everything that's going on in the market, there's 2,400 home owners that are non-owner occupied homes in Rohnert Park.
So 2,400 people that own homes in Rohnert Park are landlords, they're investors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just did a title search and that's what it said. So you've got 2,400 homes in Rohnert Park specifically. I don't know. It's like if you're talking about a renter pool going down and you've got so many homes that are already rentals and you've got all these new builds that are happening, I don't know. It's a lot of things to consider. So to your point, it's not just an emotional thing. It's like, let's be analytical around it too.
Yeah.
Is it worth holding on to it? And just seeing and waiting until the market shifts. And
I think everyone's circumstances are different, right? If you follow maybe some of this equation, if you can rent it out for less and be attractive, and it covers your expenses, awesome, right? If you look at it and go, gosh, I've owned this for a long period of time, let's sell it, you can decide to either pay capital gains tax on that and do something else with the money, or you can just go north 20 minutes and you can get something cheaper that might cash flow better. So I think that selling right now for investors that have held long-term in that area in Rohnert Park is maybe a good decision for a lot of them. Maybe not all 2,400, maybe half of them, something like that. What would be cool about that if it happened, just so you know, that more owner occupants would buy.
And that's what's happening, right?
Right? Is that true?
That's what we're seeing in the market. You're not having the investors buy the homes, so you are seeing more owner-occupied homes, especially with all these new builds, and not even just the Sonoma Village, but when K section was developed, O section, and W. These are all young families that, honestly, most of them kind of migrated from Marin County,
I agree.
San Francisco.
East Bay, that was a big part of my clientele for like 4 years. It was like San Francisco, East Bay, Livermore, Danville, Contra Costa County, et cetera, and moving up from San Francisco and Marin County. Like that was literally like 50% of my buyer.
And everybody that's there, like they've created their own little communities within the larger community itself, right? Like, and you got a lot of young families, and it's really cool to see. And there's not a single person that I've met that has moved here from another area and it's like, man, I really wish I would have stayed in Marin County. Yeah. Like they love it here.
I agree. I love it here. I mean, I was that person.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in Marin County for 4 years. Nothing against my Marin County people. And I needed something that was just a little bit more affordable for what I wanted my needs to be. And I just fell in love with Sonoma County. Yeah. Like absolutely fell in love with Sonoma County. I don't see myself ever leaving here personally. So, dude, thanks for taking the time here today. You gave great information. Like, do you have any final words or thoughts that you want to, leave anyone with?
Yeah, of course. No, but thank you. And I would just say, if you're kind of one of those people that's on the fence and you don't know what your options are, talk to somebody like myself or to Jeremy. Talk to somebody that's in the market that's doing this every single day, that has this conversation every single day. And we can help put together those options that you're talking about, right? Like maybe it doesn't make sense for everybody to sell, but maybe for some of these people it does. And then, and what do you do with that money? Do you just sit on it and that's your retirement? That's what you live off of? Or do you then put it into something else that's going to, make you more money, right?
I totally agree. Like it costs you zero dollars to find out what you can or can't do.
Yeah.
Right? It costs you a lot of energy, disappointment, time to mentally stew and think about what should I do or not do. So there was a great quote, and I'll leave you guys with this, that I read a few weeks ago, or I listened to it, I can't remember anymore, but it was along the lines of like, what you avoid controls you. What you avoid controls you. It's the thing you think about all the time that you don't address. It's the heaviness of it. And I can relate to that. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I'm not like exploring and I'm thinking about, and I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea, it actually is owning you in a totally different way, rather than like the things that you face you can fix.
Well, it's the procrastination thing,
Yes.
right? Like I think if you're just putting it off, it's always going to be in the back of your mind. So again, if you just have that conversation, like you said, it costs nothing. Have that conversation and then look at your options, right?
100%.
And it'll alleviate some of that stress, because then you know, like
And the cool thing about it is you don't even have to do anything. Like you can literally look at it and go, okay, cool, but now you know. It creates a lightness and clarity.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're avoiding a hard financial conversation, or you want to buy a house, or you think you should sell a house, don't avoid it. Like, just face it, because if you face it, you can fix it. Come up with some great strategies. Cody, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. You're the man.
I always appreciate hanging with you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jay.
Thanks.